may start off with the Oracle. Imagine 20 years with a bitter and the same drama. Like Kwame took it for 20 years.
Bars.
And then when he came out, he hit him with a knockout punch. That was what Mace did with the Oracle.
But he ain't hit Stephen A with a knockout punch. He hit Jack and Matt Barnes with a knockout punch.
And Charlemagne.
Poor Charlemagne. He suffers the most out of this. But I gotta ask you, what do you think, if you're Charlemagne, what do you think was going through his head that made him expose all of that stuff, knowing the dirt that's on him?
If you've noticed, he's been able to slide pretty freely. So like you slide freely for years, it ain't on your brain. He's been going at people for years, even though he's had this history. That ain't stopped him before. Why would you think this was different?
I don't understand. If they had this dirt on him, 48 laws of power, like,
but everybody, no.
No.
It's not 48 laws of power because everybody knew this about him. Like it was public. He said stuff on the radio about this stuff. It's in his book. He's made it public to try to soften the blow. But what Kwame did was bring it back to light. And then once somebody brings it to light, everybody can pile in on it. And
this don't make sense. Like, I feel like if Charlemagne was beefing with 50, 50 would have said we're in the first day. So I don't understand why his other enemies ain't blow his spot up on this every day of every week.
Well, the thing is too, it's people have talked about it, but everyone doesn't have a strong enough voice for everyone to listen. Kwame said it at a time when everyone was listening to him.
And it could be because he doesn't have a boss. All of these, but Star doesn't have a boss. He's just on YouTube. So I really don't get it.
But like all he's gonna, and what Kwame is saying, which he said, like they keep feeding into, you're just gonna talk about basketball. You're gonna call me a bust, but you're not gonna talk about the points that I made about how you bring down black men, about like all these different points, which I'm sure Stephen A. didn't talk about today because
he kind of did.
No, he didn't.
He kind of
did. I
promise.
He's
saying I wasn't talking. I've never talked about anything in someone's personal life. I'm just talking about the game of basketball.
To Kwame, he has a point when he says the way that Stephen A. comes down
definitely
on black men, and like one thing that I posted a while ago when it happened, not even a while ago, it recently happened, when that white guy on the Seahawks beat the crap, like almost killed the black woman that he was dating, and there was very little media coverage on it. And so it's just like, why do you highlight black men so much when they do something? But for these white players who did this, and there's countless white players who do things, just watch the way that he speaks on them. It's not with the same vitriol that you hear him talk about the white players, if they even cover.
So do you agree with that statement? Have you seen that Stephen A. is like different?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Like, so he has more like vitriol, as you say, towards black men than another race.
I mean, I think so. And then he might, like, somebody like Stephen A. might try to say, well, that's because, you know, I'm a black man and I hold black people to a higher standard than other. That, to me, that's like sort of a cop-out. But it's just like, don't give other people a reason to demean. Like, and I'll go to this. When Kyrie was playing this year and he took a few days off, when he did with like he said, I need a few mental health days and this stuff. Stephen A. Smith said, Kyrie, you should just retire. Don't play basketball anymore. Retire. And it's like, what are you talking about? Like, you see, and then and then a month later, when Kyrie's balling out, saying like, yo, Kyrie's like, you know, one of the best players, but you just told him to retire. What he said about Andrew Wiggins, like, yo, they should trade you for a box of cookies. Like, it's like, but the thing is, like, they highlight the black players. Like, you're not going to say Tyler Johnson, trade him, or any of these other white players. What Kwame said was, you call me a bust, but y'all call Brian Scalabrine the white mamba. Like you take these mediocre players and you don't give them any of the same, like Adam Morrison. He was a high draft pick, didn't pan out well. Darko, who was the second pick, or the third pick in that draft after Melo.
Draft, yeah.
No,
he was before Melo.
He was before Melo.
Detroit, I think. Yeah.
He was the number 2 pick.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, we don't talk about any of those players the same way you talk about Kwame or you talk about any black players. Like, you don't talk about them in the same way. Like, you just don't.
Believe there are busts? Do you believe bust is a real thing?
So, I listen to Jalen, he said they took away words like bust, because what I've noticed, if you go to the 15th person on the bench, the last person on the bench, they can ball. They can ball. I played against people who play overseas who didn't make it to the NBA, and they can ball. So if you make it to the league and you're able to sustain that for 10 years, where there's only 300, 400 people in the world who get that opportunity, you can't be a bust. And it's just like, what are you comparing a bust to? Am I comparing you to Jordan? Am I comparing you to Westbrook? Am I comparing you to Brian Scalabrine? Am I comparing you to Steve Kerr? Like, what is the measuring stick that I'm measuring a bust? Because if I'm measuring you to Jordan or LeBron, you can call a lot of people a bust who don't pan out. That's what Jalen Rose said. Oh, I didn't win a championship. You're horrible. You're trash. Because Stephen A. Smith said, yo, Jalen, you can ball. The Fab Five. We know you can ball. But people say Jalen is a failure, because he didn't win a championship or whatever. So it's just like, people say whatever they want to say. Like, to say that they say Russell Westbrook is a failure because he'll never win a championship. And it's just like, I do all this stuff and I get to the league, I play, I do, and people are fighting to get to the NBA. If you look at the G League, people are fighting to get there. So someone who got there and sustained themselves there, can you call them a bust? Can you call them a bum? Because he can play. And like a lot of times it's the situation you're in. And so he got put into a really bad situation, Kwame Brown. I see your face, but look, listen to me. Listen. So we look at, and I'm going to give you a few examples. We look at Melo and where he got drafted. He got drafted to the Nuggets. If he got drafted to the Pistons, do you think his career would have been different?
He would have won a chip, probably.
What's the knock against Melo?
No chip.
That could change the trajectory of his career and how he's perceived.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the situation that you land in. Same with the NFL. If you land in a good situation rather than a bad situation, your outcome's going to be different. And I'll just say with Kwame Brown, because listen. We watched The Last Dance. We all watched The Last Dance, and we saw how Michael was to his teammates.
Mm-hmm.
If you listen to Kwame Brown, first off, Michael didn't really want him. He drafted him so he can trade him for Elton Brand. We don't know if that's true, but that's what Kwame said, so I'm going to go with it right now. But let's go with this. He said that Michael, mind you, he's 17, 18 years old coming into the league. The first high school player drafted number 1. Michael Jordan, you see what he did to his teammates. Kwame said the way that he broke him down, and so mentally, to come in as a teenager and to go through what Jordan did, and Jordan was putting Jordan did this to grown men who couldn't take it. Yeah. It's abuse. So if he did this to grown men who couldn't take it, you're going to do this to a child that's coming out of high school. This is like 2001, 01. Okay. 01, 02. But then if you listen to people like Gilbert Arenas, he's like, he had the potential to be a really, really good player. But when your confidence is broken, I know when I play, if you play at times and if you have your confidence broken, it's going to affect the way you play. And then he said Jordan would have him working out like 3 hours before the game for like 3 hours, 4 hours. And then I'm like drained by the time I get to the game. So it looks like I can't, like, it's a lot of mental stuff that goes in there. And Jordan might have been able to try to build him up the way he, only knew how, but it killed him. It destroyed him.
You think he built up Scotty that way?
Scotty was older when he got in there. And he
What do you
wasn't
mean older? Out of college?
He was in his 20s when he got to the, at least in his 20s. So
but
mind you,
Oakley slapping him up?
Slapping who up? Pippen?
Yeah.
I don't know. But look,
you don't know. I thought you just said you watched The Last Dance.
Oakley didn't slap him up.
Pippen was like
Oakley slapped up a lot of people, but I don't know. I don't think he did nothing to Pip. But listen, and maybe that's why they traded Oakley off the team. I don't know. But listen. But you saw Steve Kerr had to punch Jordan in the face. But like,
whoa, Steve Kerr had to punch Jordan in the face?
Yeah.
Jordan had to punch Steve Kerr in the face. That's what happened, sir.
And when am I getting mixed
Steve Kerr had to punch Jordan in the face.
Steve stood up to him, though.
Oh yeah, he stood up and then he got punched in the face. That's what.
Right. I'm sorry.
He stepped out of line, and Jordan had to remind him who he was.
I'm sorry. I got. Listen, I've heard that story a million times. I don't know how I just forgot it. That is exactly what happened. But he said he grew respect for Steve after he stood up for himself and all that. But my thing is, those are his teammates. Those are his peers, not on his level, but on his level, right? Kwame looked up to Jordan. That's like looking up to your idol, and then like, if that's your idol and Jordan smacks you in the face during practice, like, you're gonna look at him different. Like, yo, I looked up to you. It's like your father figure. It's just like, I saw you in a certain light, and now I'm like, and I'll say it for me, because I promise you, you destroyed my view of Jordan. And I'll say this right now, but because this was before The Last Dance and all that stuff, and I was the biggest Jordan fan. And then you had to show me the Chameleonaire story. And then along with the Chameleonaire story, like, y'all had to say, like, yo, yeah, you want to meet Jordan? I said, I would love to meet Jordan. You know, if he met you, he'd probably spit in your face. It threw me off, because I was just like, Jordan. And I heard the Chameleonaire story. Then he said the Young Jock story, was just like, yo, where you coming from? Yeah, I was at a Jordan party, but they kicked me out. Why? Because I had on Adidas or something, and said, "Nah, you can't wear them in here." Like,
the Muggsy Bogues story.
But Muggsy Bogues story. Shoot the ball, you midget. And they said he was a good jump shooter by that point. They said it broke his confidence, and he was out the league 2 years later. Like, it destroyed him. So imagine what that did to grown men. Imagine what it's going to do to a child, a teenager. Like, and let me say this too, because when I was watching, when Stephen A was on Keyshawn and Jay Will and like other people like Jalen, they talk about Jordan. Like, y'all know how Jordan is. Like, we know how Jordan is, because people know how Jordan is, and people love him for that. But there's the opposite side too, where it's just like there's a way that you treat people, and like, you're Jordan, but like what Bill Cartwright said, you ever talk to me like that again, and you'll never play basketball again, because I'll break both of your legs. Like, you can't treat people a certain way, no matter who you are.
Scenario: how do you think it would have turned out if, say, Kobe was drafted to the Bulls while Jordan was still there? What do you think would have been good for Kobe or bad for Kobe?
Honestly, I'm just going on history, and you can't. It depends on how it went, because they didn't always have this big brother little brother relationship. So if he just came out the league,
straight out of high school, to the league, to the Bulls.
Well, the thing with the Lakers was Kobe didn't play right away. So if he was on the Bulls, Kobe wouldn't play right away. Like I don't think he would play right away knowing Jordan's there. And Jordan wouldn't, like Jordan had all the power at that point. Like Kobe wouldn't have played. He might have played, he might have played.
Because he had hype out of high school.
Yeah, he did.
It was the coach. That was the reason why he didn't play.
That's why I never understood that, why they made him sit.
It was a rule, right? Like, you know,
freshmen
ain't going to get him no time, like no burn.
Iverson started right away.
I mean, the specific coach for the Lakers at that time. I thought.
And what happened to him? They got him out of there.
Yeah, they got him out of there. Right.
But the thing with Kobe and Shaq was they were two alphas. They couldn't coexist.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if Jordan and Kobe would have been able to coexist.
I think they would have been. I don't think Jordan could,
because they're
Kobe
so similar.
Like,
but because he couldn't punk him like that, he might be like, "No, you gotta get him out of here."
But he would respect the work ethic, though. That work ethic, Kobe would work 3 hours, and then you couldn't catch him slipping like that.
So let me ask you this: Kobe looked up to Jordan. Kobe wanted to surpass Jordan.
Exactly.
So a lot of people said the reason why Jordan even released The Last Dance is because LeBron was getting closer to that greatest of all time thing. So do you think somebody who wants to surpass you, wants to beat you, do you want them on your team?
Sometimes you don't have a choice. Sometimes that's...
If you're Jordan, you run the league, you have a choice.
So remember who was, the GM? Homeboy, right. I forget his name. He may have not... They said T-Mac was going to be on the team, but they said Jordan did shut that down, though.
So what I'll say about this is, with a lot of teams, even with if you look at the Rockets or the Trailblazers, who selected people in front of Jordan, they said we already got a shooting guard. We don't need another shooting guard. If they had a shooting guard with Jordan, they wouldn't. The mindset back then, I think they would have been like, we don't need another shooting guard.
But just say, as a backup, if hypothetically, if that would have happened.
Hypothetically, it wouldn't have been a backup. Like I would have one playing the point, one playing the two.
See, that's you. That's
or one. Like I do this on 2K.